The boar doesn't charge from the front. That would be too easy. It bursts from the underbrush at your left flank, a wall of bristle and anger. You pivot, but your arm is already in the wrong place. The tusk catches you just above the wrist, a raw, tearing sensation that travels up to your elbow before your brain even registers the pain. You look down. The gash is deep, really deep. The skin gapes open, and inside you see something pale that you know is not supposed to be visible. Then the blood comes, bright red, pulsing in rhythm with your heartbeat. Not the slow ooze of a scratch. This is a vessel, maybe more than one. The blood wells up and spills over your hand, drips into the leaf litter at your feet. You press your palm over the wound. The pressure helps a little. But the blood seeps through your fingers anyway. You scan the terrain, no camp, no smoke on the horizon. No medicine pouch, no elder with sinew and a bone needle. Just raw landscape, dark soil, mossy rocks, a scatter of birch and pine. The boar is gone, crashing deeper into the forest. You are alone with this cut. The panic tries to rise. You feel it in your chest, a tightness that wants to become a sprint. But sprinting makes bleeding worse. You force yourself to breathe. Think. You have no thread, no needle, no way to pull the edges of this wound together the way you've seen the healers do. But people have survived these wounds before. A gash this deep would fester in days if you just left it open. You need to close it, and you need to do it without stitches. The premise locks in. You are going to close this wound with what is around you. Plants, bark, stone, maybe even spiderweb. You've heard stories, old stories, passed down by the fire, about men who got cut open in the hunt and walked back days later, wound sealed with something sticky and dark. You never asked how. Now you have to remember. You take one more look at the blood pulsing between your fingers. Then you start moving toward the stream you heard earlier. The water is your first tool. Everything else comes after. The stream is where you remember it, a thin ribbon of cold water cutting through the moss. You drop to your knees, wincing as the movement pulls at the gash. Cupping your good hand, you scoop water and pour it over the wound. The blood thins and swirls away, revealing the full length of the cut. It runs from just above your wrist to nearly your elbow. Clean edges, but deep. The muscle underneath is visible, a dark red bundle of fibers. You rinse again. The cold water numbs the pain a little. Your mind starts to settle. You look around with purpose now. What do you have? What can you use? Your eyes catch a cluster of low-growing plants near the bank. Feathery leaves, a sharp medicinal smell. Yarrow. You know this plant. You've seen the elders crush it into a wound and watch the bleeding slow. Some say it works because the leaves contain chemicals that tighten blood vessels. You pull a handful, roots and all. The stems are tough, the leaves soft. You tuck them into the fold of your belt. Now the birch tree. A few paces away, its white bark peels in thin, papery layers. You remember stories about birch bark tar. You've never made it yourself, but you've seen it. A black, sticky substance that hardens into a waterproof seal. The old hunters used it to patch canoe holes, and sometimes, you recall now, to close wounds. The bark itself has compounds that fight infection. You strip a large piece from the trunk. The tree won't mind, it will grow new bark. You look down at your feet. A piece of flint lies half buried in the gravel. You pick it up. The edge is sharp, jagged in places, but with one clean curve. You'll need that to trim dead tissue to shape the moss or the bark. A clean edge is a clean cut. A clean cut heals faster. You take stock. Running water, yarrow, birch bark, flint. You have the beginning of a kit, but you still need something to pack the wound, something to stop the bleeding before you try to close it. Your eyes scan the wet patches along the stream. Sphagnum moss, thick, pale green, soaking up water like a sponge. You've heard it can do more than just absorb. You tear a handful free, 4 items. Each one has a purpose. You are not helpless, you just have to move fast. The wound is still bleeding. Slower now, but steady. The dirt from the boar's tusk is ground deep into the torn flesh. If you seal that dirt inside, the wound will fester by morning. You have to clean it first, thoroughly. You cup your hand and scoop water from the stream. pour it over the gash. The water runs pink, then clear. You do it again, and again. Each handful washes away a little more grit, but you can see small black specks lodged in the muscle fibers. Water alone won't lift them. You tear off a thin strip of the sphagnum moss you gathered. The moss is soft, fibrous, and already wet. You squeeze it out until it's damp, but not dripping. Then you press it gently into the wound. The moss acts like a sponge, wicking up the loose debris. You pull it away. Dark flecks come with it. You take a fresh piece. This time you work it deeper, sliding it along the length of the cut. The torn muscle fibers part slightly. You can feel the roughness of the moss against the raw tissue. It stings. But you keep moving, lifting every bit of dirt you can reach. You pull the strip out. It's stained red and brown. There is a reason you chose sphagnum. You remember hearing about a study from 2015. Researchers tested the moss against common bacteria that infect wounds. Staphylococcus, the kind that turns a cut into a hot, swollen mess. The moss killed it. Not just absorbed it, killed it. Something in the moss's cell structure stops bacteria from growing. You don't know the science, you just know the moss works. Another rinse. Another pass with a fresh strip. The water runs clearer now. The wound looks pink and raw, but clean. You can see the edges clearly. They will need to come together, but first you need to stop the bleeding enough to work. You reach for the yarrow. Crush a handful of leaves between your palms. The smell is sharp and green. You pack the crushed leaves directly into the wound. They press against the torn vessels. The bleeding slows almost immediately. You feel the change. The warmth under your fingers fades. Now for the spiderweb. You spotted a thick web on a low branch near the stream. You stretch up and gather it in a wad. Spiderweb is rich in vitamin K. It helps blood clot. You press the web over the yarrow against the gash. The fibers stick to the wet skin. The bleeding stops. You exhale. The first part is done. The wound is clean. The flow is stopped. Now you need to close it, and you need birch tar. Your hands are already working while your brain catches up. You take the crushed yarrow leaves and hold them in your palm. They feel damp and fibrous. The smell is sharp and green. You bring them to your mouth and chew them into a paste. The taste is bitter. It sticks to your tongue. You spit the paste back into your palm. This paste will do more than whole leaves ever could. The enzymes in your saliva help break down the plant cell walls. The medicinal compounds release faster. You push the paste deep into the cut with your fingers. You feel it fill the space. It presses against the torn flesh. The bleeding slows immediately. The yarrow tightens the blood vessels. It numbs the edges. Good. Now the spiderweb. You saw it earlier, a thick mat stretched between two low branches of a hawthorn bush near the stream. You reach for it carefully. The web is sticky. It clings to your fingers. You roll it into a ball. The fibers tangle together. You need a wad about the size of your thumb. You gather more from the edge of the web. The strands are light and strong. You ball it up between your palms. You place the web ball directly over the gash. It sits on top of the yarrow paste. You press down with the heel of your hand. Firm pressure. Not moving. You count. You have no timepiece, but you know the rhythm of your own heart. You count 100 beats. That is roughly a minute. You hold for 3 minutes total. 300 heartbeats. The web fibers stick to the wet skin. They form a mesh. The protein in spiderweb traps red blood cells. Vitamin K in the web helps your blood clot faster. You feel the warmth under your hand fade. The bleeding slows to a seep. A trickle. Then nothing. You lift your hand slowly. The web holds. The yarrow stays packed inside. The wound is clean. The flow is stopped. You exhale long and slow. Your arm aches. Your heart pounds. But the bleeding is done. Now you need to close it. And for that, you need birch tar. You scan the tree line. Find a birch. Its white bark peels in papery sheets. You walk to it. Your arm still throbs, but the web holds firm. You take a flint flake from your pouch and cut a rectangle of bark. About the size of your hand, the bark comes away clean. You fold it once and tuck it under your arm. You need a flat rock. You find one near the edge of the stream. A dark gray slab smooth on top. You carry it to the fire. The coals are still hot. You lay the birch bark rectangle on the rock. Then you build a small fire on top of the bark. Dry twigs, a few leaves. You blow the embers until they catch. The bark begins to smolder. It does not burn in flame, it glows and smokes. A thin black liquid starts to ooze from the edges. That is the tar. You let it smolder for a long time. Long enough for the tar to pool on the rock. The smell is strange and heavy, like smoked wood and earth. You watch the liquid bubble. It thickens as it cools. When you think it is enough, you scatter the fire with a stick. You scrape the hot black tar onto a flat stick. A small wooden spatula. The tar is sticky and warm. You let it cool slightly. It firms up but stays soft. Like thick honey. You know this trick is old. Very old. Thousands of years old. 5,300 years ago, a man walked through the Alps with birch tar in his pouch. They found him frozen, preserved. Otzi the Iceman. He carried birch tar wrapped in bark. He used it as a wound adhesive. He used it to repair arrow shafts. It stops infection. It seals cuts. It does not need needles or thread, just bark and fire and patience. You hold the stick of tar near your arm. You test it with your fingertip. Still warm, but not burning. Ready. Now you need to bring the edges together. You need to tie, smear, and seal. Fast now. You work quickly. The tar will harden soon. You dip your finger into the warm black paste. It coats your skin, sticky and thick. You spread a layer along both sides of the gash. Left side, right side. 2 thin lines of tar parallel to the wound. The tar touches the raw edges. It stings for a second. Then it numbs. You pinch the wound edges together with your other hand. Thumb on one side, fingers on the other. You squeeze. The skin edges meet. They line up. You hold them tight. The tar acts as a glue. It bonds to the skin. You press the edges into the tar. They stick. You hold for another count of heartbeats. 20 beats. 30. The tar sets slightly. Now the vine. You find a green vine near your feet. A young shoot, flexible and strong. You strip the leaves off, you wind it around your forearm, once above the wound and once below. Not too tight. Just firm enough to hold pressure. You tie a simple knot. The vine cinches the skin edges together. The tar seals the gap. No air gets in, no dirt gets in. You check the tension. The skin edges stay aligned. No fresh blood seeps through. The tar does not leak. The seal holds. You lift your arm gently. The bandage stays in place. The web and yarrow remain packed inside. The vine holds everything. You flex your fingers. The wound pulls but does not open. Good. You wrap a strip of clean cloth around the whole forearm. A final layer to keep dirt off. You tie it off loosely. You sit back. The work is done. The sun is low. You will need to rest soon. You will need to check the wound at dawn. No heat. No pus. No redness spreading. If the tar held, the bacteria stayed out. The pressure sealed the vessels. The yarrow fought infection from inside. You did what you could with what you had. No needle, no thread. Just plants. Fire. Patience. You lean against the rock. You close your eyes. The first night begins. You need shelter. Nothing elaborate. Just a lean-to to break the wind. You find a fallen branch and prop it against the rock you were leaning on. You drape broad fern fronds over it. The roof is thin but enough. You crawl underneath. The ground is cold. You gather dry leaves and pile them where you will lie. You sit down carefully. The arm must stay elevated. You find a log and place it under your forearm. The wound throbs. The vine bandage feels tight but not painful. You lie back. The leaves rustle under you. The sky darkens fast. You close your eyes. You do not sleep deeply. You wake often. Each time you check the arm. No wetness, no spreading heat. The tar holds. The yarrow works. You drift again. The night is long. The cold seeps in. You pull your knees up. You keep the arm still. First light comes gray and slow. You open your eyes. The lean-to roof is wet with dew. You sit up. The arm is stiff. You look at the bandage. The cloth is dry. No bloodstain, no swelling. Good. You untie the outer cloth. You unwrap the vine carefully. The tar seal is intact. A dark brown crust along the wound line. You peel back a corner of the tar. The skin underneath is pink. Not red. Not white. No pus. No heat. You press gently around the wound. No tenderness spreading. The edges are aligned. The closure held. You remember what people have learned over time? Birch tar does more than seal. It kills certain bacteria. A test long from now will show it reduces streptococcus growth by 90%. You do not know that number. You see the result. The wound is clean. The pink edges say the body is healing. The yarrow inside continues its work. The spiderweb helped the blood clot. The pressure from the vine kept everything together. You did what you could. It worked. You sit in the morning light. The arm feels heavy but stable. You need to rewrap it. You need to move soon, but first, you take a breath. The first night is over. You gather fresh yarrow leaves. You crush them between your palms. The smell is sharp and clean. You peel back the old tar carefully. The wound beneath is dry. The edges are sealed. You do not disturb the web and yarrow packed inside. You place the fresh poultice over the tar. A thin layer, then you take a clean strip of hide. You wrap it around the forearm, not too tight. You tie a simple knot. The bandage holds. The arm feels supported. You stand up. The world tilts for a moment. You wait. The throbbing in your arm is there but dull. No weeping. No fresh blood. You test your grip. The fingers move. The wound pulls but does not open. You look at the bandage. The knot is secure. The hide is soft. You have no needle. No thread. You used what the land gave you. Birch bark, yarrow, spiderweb, sphagnum moss, running water, flint, fire, patience. You begin the walk. The direction is known. Your group is a day or two away. You move slowly. The arm stays close to your body. You step over roots and rocks. The morning sun warms your shoulders. The forest is quiet. You think about what you did. Deep wound. No healer, no stitches. But you closed it. You cleaned it. You sealed it. You kept infection out. The body will do the rest. The yarrow will fight anything that remains. The tar will protect the seal. The web will hold the clot. The vine will keep the edges together. You walk. The knowledge settles in your bones. It is not magic. It is not luck. It is observation and memory. Someone long ago learned that birch tar stops rot. Someone learned that spiderweb stops bleeding. Someone learned that yarrow draws out infection. Those lessons pass down. Now you carry them forward. You will tell your group. They will tell others. The knowledge moves through time. No needle, no thread. Just plants. Fire patience. You reach the ridge. You stop. You look back at the river where it all happened. The arm throbs, but it is closed. You turn and keep walking. The wound will heal. The knowledge will last.